Shanks' origins. Hello, One Piece enthusiasts. I'm the One Piece nerd, and today let's talk about where Shanks came from. Well, this entire topic to me, in my mind at least for now, is a little confusing, and I think I have an idea as to what it actually is. I mean, people have already talked about it, but here's my twist on it, and I feel as though some people within the community have misconceptions about information that has been said about Shanks' origins and how he's related to what, especially after chapter 1076, where we know that Shanks has some sort of a connection with LF. It has been speculated before in theories, but this time let's get a little bit more into it. Before we move on, make sure to like and subscribe, it helps the channel a lot. Now that you have, let's begin. Well, the first time it was mentioned about Shanks' origins in the story itself was when Shanks met up with Whitebeard to tell Whitebeard to stop Ace. You guys remember it, of course. The first ever Yonko clash that split the sky. That is when Shanks said, and this is canon, this cannot be retconned, Shanks said that he bought sake for Whitebeard. And that sake, he said, it's from my hometown, the West Blue, and I want you to have it. It's the best sake I know. That's what he said. So he said, as of Shanks' information, from what he knows, which is obviously told by Roger, because Roger is the one that found him on God Valley, and that's another separate incident. So obviously the most logical conclusion as of now, the only way Shanks could figure out he's from the West Blue, is through the help of Roger. Okay, with that being said, this is the first bit of information we get. The second bit of information we get in the story is within the whole God Valley incident. The whole God Valley incident and then Film Red. Film Red is partially canon. Film Red is partially canon because Uta does exist. And of course, Shanks' relationship with Uta also is canon, and some information within the story is also very canon. The whole LJ incident, and then, of course, what we're about to get into about the Gorosei commenting about Shanks, and whatnot. Some of the things in there are definitely canon, but not entirely. So, where does it all begin? Where do we figure it out that Shanks was found by Roger in God Valley? Because we've seen glimpses, Shanks showed us glimpses of when he was found by Roger, and really after the God Valley incident within a treasure chest, because that came up because Shanks found Uta the same way. Uta was found in a treasure chest, and that's how he connected it all. So this is a confirmation of, okay, Roger and really basically raised him up ever since he was 1 year old. And he was found in God Valley. What do we know about God Valley? God Valley was a place where the Rocks Pirates and Roger and Gar basically fought, and the Rocks lost, and the pirate crew disbanded, and Roger got hand with treasures, and within those treasures, that's where Shanks was found. And there's also things to talk about. The only reason Garp was sent there was because there were celestial dragons in that island that needed protection. Garp hated that idea, but in order to keep his job, he had to do it. He did not have a choice. Well, this sort of goes to show either one of two things. The child belonging in a treasure chest is obviously either the son of a celestial dragon or the son of a slave of a celestial dragon. Either way. And I feel like the only way a slave of a celestial dragon would get pregnant with a son is by having relations with a celestial dragon. So technically, I don't even know how that works. That gets into very creepy territories. Not creepy, but rather dark territories. I don't want to get into it. The point is, if Shanks was found as a 1 year old in God Valley, where the celestial dragons resided, and when there is celestial dragons residing there, I don't really think normal citizens would be there. So this is why I'm sort of going down the rabbit hole of Shanks might be a celestial dragon. There are more confirmations to this, especially after Gorosei commenting exactly on Film Red that Uta might somehow be connected with the Figureland or Fearland family because of Shanks. Well, they knew that Uta was adopted by Shanks, but they still said Shanks has something to do with the Fearland family. And of course, when it comes to families and names like these, it always goes back to the celestial dragons in the 20 kingdoms that first started the world government. Now, this goes to show. This actually proves a lot of things. Number one, this goes to show why people like Sengoku, Akainu, all the admirals, even the Whitebeard. I mean, the Whitebeard pirates probably because, of course, Shanks is their friend, sort of friend, but frenemies or whatever. Anyways, another point. Point being, someone like Sengoku, Akainu, stopped at the arrival of Shanks, aside from the fact that Shanks is strong. It's probably because he's a celestial dragon. Partially. In the same way with Doflamingo. It's the same way how Doflamingo got away with whatever he was doing with the underground prison and whatnot, until he was finally put down to his misery by Fujitora and Luffy. So, here's my point. And then the second thing being having an audience with the Gorosei. The Gorosei would not allow any pirate to have an audience with them. And though they said something along the lines of, it's only because it's you, we're allowing this, any other pirate would have never been allowed. We'll make it a special occurrence. And the same could be said for the stopping of war of Marineford. So, everything hints to the fact that Shanks is a celestial dragon. How does he relate to Elbaf? I feel as though the connection could be very simple. Just because we've got some references with Shanks' ship being somehow connected to the Giants, and we made a connection that, not we, like some of us within the community, especially I think it was Joyboy Theories, making connections with Elbaf and Shanks, saying that, it exists, that doesn't necessarily mean that Shanks has to originate from Elbaf, because I don't see normal humans living in Elbaf, and Shanks is not a giant. He's in fact the most human-like emperor that exists within One Piece. Like, from what we know, at least. From the original 4 emperors, and probably even now. Aside from Luffy, I guess. Luffy and Buggy. Like, Buggy is Buggy. Another point. Point being, just because he's connected to Elbaf, that doesn't necessarily mean that he originated from Elbaf. And the connection there is sort of very simple in my eyes, because it could either be one of the giants that Shanks was friends with, because he traveled everywhere with the Roger Pirates. And with that being said, it's entirely likely that he could have friends. And the other person that he talked about, an old friend being alive, I feel like that could be Saw. But it also brings up a lot of questions. I did talk about it in my previous video, about how Saw could be the one that Shanks is talking about when it comes to being alive, and then old friend and whatever whatnot. That makes the most sense to me. But I think that's one of the most best reasons to have connection with Elbaf. And aside from all this, Elbaf, I believe, is sort of just a thing. It's just there. It was hinted at, but I don't think it's anything significant, aside from what we know thus far, and maybe a little bit more. But in terms of Shanks' origins, it goes to the point of Shanks saying that he originated from the West Blue. Now, Roger probably did have a way to figure out that Shanks is a son of a celestial dragon, but he definitely doesn't want to mention it, because how the world in large has an opinion about the celestial dragons. Look at what happened with the Don Quixote family. So Roger definitely knew the consequences of Shanks knowing that he was a celestial dragon, and he probably didn't say it. He definitely didn't say it, and Shanks probably might have figured it out. He's a smart man. He went around the world. He figured out. He traveled with Roger. He's a smart person. He went all around the world. He sort of somehow maybe figured it out. And with the fact about Shanks being from the West Blue, remember, one thing that I got wrong the first time I read about God Valley is that I always thought God Valley was a part of the Grand Line. But in fact, God Valley, we have no idea where it was situated. We just know it was destroyed. It was there in the world of One Piece. It was destroyed. Nothing about the Grand Line of the New World were mentioned. So Roger could have picked up the fact that this is a hint that God Valley did in fact exist in the West Blue. That's where Roger found Shanks, and that's where Shanks that's basically how Roger told Shanks about it. That's my theory on the entire thing. Shanks is a celestial dragon, and God Valley exists in West Blue. This is why Roger told Shanks about him originating from West Blue, and that's pretty much it. And then again, he has home. I don't know what that also says about the origin and whatnot. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and peace.